Have you ever wondered how some gardeners are able to keep a very productive garden all the way from March down into November and December, and it seems like they're doing it with ease? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to attempt to be one of those gardeners and how I'm going to use 3 strategies to keep a productive and beautiful garden this season. So stay tuned. A lesson I had to learn throughout the years is that planting is not a set it and forget it type of thing. This is not a Ron Popeil infomercial. You have to plant, transplant, pivot, remove things that aren't working. That way you're maximizing your garden space. Plants like these radishes, carrots, beets, root vegetables, they're only harvested once. So once you pull them up, the spot is going to be bare unless you reseed it with something else. These quick growing plants can fill the space and give you another harvest before the season ends. By reseeding immediately, you're making sure every square foot of your garden is productive and providing for your family. Whatever you do when you reseed, make sure you label. I have made this mistake so many times in the past, and I refuse to guess where I've planted again. So make sure you label. If you decide to harvest only one batch of carrots, you harvest the batch of carrots, then you have a bare bed and you're inviting the weeds in, which means more work for you later. So harvest your carrots, your beets, your radishes, reseed quickly, and that way not only are you getting a delicious harvest, but you're going to reduce the effort in the long term because you're not going to have grass and all sorts of weeds growing in your garden beds. Step number 2 is to transplant in new seedlings as the seasons shift. So, for instance, brassicas are not going to grow well in the summertime. So as summer approaches, I'll take out brassicas like broccoli and cauliflower, and I'll replace them with things like peanuts, like I have in this bed, or eggplant. I took out some lettuce and replaced it with eggplant because lettuce doesn't really like summertime so well. So whatever you do, you want to replace the plants that are not producing so well, depending on the season, with new transplants that are actually going to give you some food. This is the spinach that's gone to seed. This little plot here, this little tiny area in between some weeds, kale, cabbage, and this is where our lettuce is. So I'll go ahead and pull this up and I'll plant. I picked up an artichoke, or Ezra picked up 5 artichokes from the nursery today. So I figured if they're growing them at the local nursery, I'm hopeful that they will grow good in this area. So I'll plant one here and probably one further down there. And I'll move in some squash in this area too. Hopefully that'll go good with artichoke. I just have extra. So let me go ahead and pull up this spinach and get it replanted. Timing is critical. Always count backward from your first frost date to make sure your new plants have enough time to mature. This is one of the keys to extending your garden's productivity throughout the season. Remember, if you're only planting once, you're only harvesting once. Succession planting allows you to maximize your garden and get as much food out of it as possible while reducing all of the wasted space. Tip number 3 is to remove non-productive plants. If your plant is sick or it's not producing when it should, if it's like a week or 2 has passed and your plant is not producing like how it should be producing, remove it. I know this step is very hard, especially for gardeners like myself, but it is vital because these days are precious. There are not many days in the season, so you have to maximize. That's the word of the video, is to maximize as much as you possibly can. So if things aren't working, pivot and remove, replace with something else. By removing underperforming plants, you open space for new growth and reduce pest and disease pressure. In a short growing season, every bed counts, so don't be afraid to make that tough call. Trust me when I say a productive planting will be more beneficial to you than you holding on to things that aren't going to work. So replant things that aren't working. As you can see here, I removed a bunch of sick pepper plants that weren't producing. I was attached to them because I started them from seeds, but they weren't producing. So I pulled them up and I replaced them with transplants that I got from a nursery. There's no shame in that. This is currently my favorite spot in the garden, with all of the beans finally climbing all over the trellis. Why are these 3 tips and these 3 strategies important for me in my garden? Well, firstly, it's more food in the pantry. As I'm removing things, replanting things, and making a more productive garden, I'm also making a more productive food pantry for us. So that's a really positive and a big benefit for us and our family. 2 is that it reduces weeds over time. Now, yeah, in my in-ground garden, there's weeds all over the place, okay? But as I reseed and as I transplant and as I remove unproductive things, I will have less weeds growing in those areas. So it is a work in progress. 3, it has a positive impact on me mentally. As I'm walking through this garden, seeing things being productive and full, it connects me to nature. It reminds me of why I garden. This is not just about the food, but it's also having a positive impact on my mind and my spirit. So I love gardening, and these strategies allow me to love it even more. Lastly, it has a positive impact on nature. So we're bringing in bees and birds and even some things that we don't want to bring in, but we have a thriving ecosystem. If you can look back here, or if you guys see back here, there's like a bird nest. Let's see if you guys can see. If you see here, there's a bird's nest. They're growing nests in my beans. but we're providing a place for birds and pollinators and other animals. And to me, that also feels good. So these are the reasons why I am striving for a very productive garden this season. Now, before you guys go wild, there are a few key things that you should remember. 1 is that you want to make sure that you're growing the right plant for the right season. Don't go planting tomatoes in wintertime or going into wintertime, and don't go planting cabbages going into summertime. You want to make sure that you're planting the right plants for the right season. Secondly, you want to make sure you're considering your first frost date. So use the count backward method from your first frost date all the way back to the date that you're at, just so you can see the number of days you have left, and you can grow plants that will mature in that time frame. If you don't know what your first frost is, open up Google, type in your zip code with first frost, and you should be prompted with the first frost. So you can also go to like Farmer's Almanac or something like that, and you'll be able to find it pretty easily. 3 is that you want to make sure that you're planting the right plants together. I wouldn't go planting my cucumbers and my potatoes together in the same bed, because I'm going to be digging up those potatoes and I don't want to dig up the roots of my cucumbers. And some plants just don't like each other. Most plants do, but some don't. So you want to take that into consideration. If you keep all of these things in mind, you will likely have a very productive and beautiful garden all the way down to your first frost. A productive garden doesn't happen just by accident. It requires planting wisely, quick decisions, and making space for plants that work. And the reward for that is a productive garden with food for your family, less weeds, and a garden that uplifts your spirits. So if you like this video, please subscribe, like, and share. And if you want to see all of what we're growing in the garden, and the in-ground garden and the raised bed garden, click on this video right here and you can watch more. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.